Good morning. I've heard from a lot of you that I am painting polygamy, all polygamy, with the same brush. If you really want to know about polygamy, there's a website called Stop Polygamy in Canada, where they have professionals that have done research on polygamy from all over the world. And from all over the world, polygamy violates human rights. There are pages and pages of this from different countries. Women that live polygamy have a more difficult time in human relationships, educationally, economically, emotionally, socially. Women in polygamy suffer more from psychosomatic illnesses. Why? Because sharing the one and the only mate you will ever have is not normal. Women who accept polygamy usually have grown up in it, have been told that they have to. I get emails that tell me how wrong I am. There are wonderful, wonderful polygamous families, such as Joe Darger from Love Times 3. I have news for you. Joe Darger is married to 2 twins among his 3 wives. Those twins are my nieces. Cody Brown on Sister Wives. His wife Christine is my cousin. Don't tell me that I don't know about polygamy. These women were taught, just like I was, that they had to live polygamy or suffer eternal damnation. We were all raised on the Journal of Discourses. The Journal of Discourses is in almost every polygamous man's office or home. In volume 4, among other volumes, there are blood covenants. Yes, blood covenants. Taking your life to save your soul if you don't keep the commandments. These are alleged religious secrets, but they are available. And if you want to read some of them, get on my website and actually go down and find the volume and the page number where you can read them. The glue that holds polygamy together in the name of religion for those who claim and blame Mormonism. The glue that binds it is not faith, it's fear. Cody's wives say that polygamy is their faith. Cody says for him it's a lifestyle choice. A choice. For them, it's coercion because they lose their soul, their family acceptance, and many other things if they choose to leave. That's the choice. Many women have been threatened that they will lose their children. I was one of them. You say, I don't know anything about it? Let me tell you a little bit more about who I am. I was born and raised in the AUB. The AUB, the Apostolic United Brethren. When I was a child, its leader was my uncle, Dr. Rulon Clark Allred. Later, my uncle Owen became the leader. Now it's Lemoyne Jensen. That is the same group Cody belongs to. That's where I grew up. Read my history. I'm not unique. There's nothing unique about my story. It's my reality. I lived it. I was married into the FLDS. Warren Jeff's father, Rulon Jeffs, performed my marriage when I was a child. Someone sent me a picture of Warren Jeff's 57 wives. 56 of them were related to me on my mother's side of the family. The one that wasn't was the Zitting girl. Charles Zitting served time in the Utah State Penitentiary with my father for unlawful cohabitation. They called it martyrdom to God because it was polygamy. Polygamy in Utah is based upon the assumption, if it's religious polygamy, it's based upon the assumption that these women will make these men gods, and it's their duty to make him a god, or they will not get into the highest degree of glory in heaven. And if they know the truth and turn away from it, the truth being polygamy, they will be destroyed. This is what we are taught. The Doctrine and Covenants was interpreted to us in exactly that way, that Joseph Smith told Emma, his wife, that if she did not accept polygamy, she would be destroyed. Women in Utah accept polygamy because they are afraid not to. They will lose their salvation, they will lose their husband, they will lose their family, they will lose their children, and their families treat them very badly if they don't accept it. There are very few exceptions. I was raised in the AUB. My mother was an Allred. My sister, Irene Spencer, who is now a New York Times best-selling author, was married to Verlin LeBaron. His brother was Ervil LeBaron, the Mormon Manson, the man who was responsible for the death of nearly 30 people. I've had family and friends murdered for not capitulating to men that believed that they held the power of God. My uncle, Dr. Reuben Clark Allred, was gunned down in his Murray, Utah office by Rena Shanoff, Ervil's teenage wife. He raised soldiers of God to kill you to save your soul if you didn't obey him. And is it really so strange when the books, the Journal of Discourses, taught us that very thing? And you want to say, oh, he was just a nut. Of course he was just a nut. That does not make people who believe that nuttiness is okay sane. Yet that nuttiness was a part of our basic teaching when we were growing up. When my father went to prison, his youngest wife, Rachel Jessup, escaped from him with her 5 children. She was killed in an airplane crash. The state of Utah let my father out of prison and returned to him Rachel's 5 children that she had escaped with. Her family fought to keep those children out of polygamy, but the state of Utah gave them back to my father on the promise that he would not live polygamy. Of course, he took 2 more wives after that, and those children were raised to believe that their mother was wicked and wrong for breaking her covenants. They were taught that all of their lives. The state of Utah has never protected the rights of women and children caught in the ignorance and bondage of religious slavery, even though polygamy is against the Constitution of the state of Utah. When Dad got out of prison, he would gather the family together and tell us that the finger of God struck that airplane from the sky and killed Rachel because she broke her covenants with him. And God did that so Daddy wouldn't have to. That's how we were raised. Every polygamist kid that came from my background, every polygamist kid who claims that polygamy is their faith, that blames or claims that that faith came from Mormonism, teaches these same blood covenants the same destruction and eternal damnation if you don't live polygamy. You tell me don't paint it with the same brush? You study polygamy around the world, even without the threat of eternal damnation. And it is not good for women and children or families. Polygamous kids grow up in a relatively fatherless family home. When I was growing up, the fathers would gather the family together and preach and threaten them, but he never gave anybody any quality time. And I never saw a polygamous family where a man didn't have a favorite wife. And I never saw a polygamous family where after a while the dad quit working and just supervised everybody else and spent his time getting younger and younger wives. You tell me I'm painting polygamy with the same brush? The brush I'm painting it with is ignorance and fear of a bloodthirsty and terrifying God. A bloodthirsty and terrifying God that says if you don't live polygamy, you will be damned. Polygamous women who've escaped know that they already escaped from hell. That's a lie, and it's not a choice. When you accept something out of fear that you've been indoctrinated in from the very time you were born, that's not a choice. Cody's wives don't have a choice if they want to save their soul and make their man a god. Yeah, make him a god. According to the fundamentalist beliefs in those polygamous cults, and they are cults, having a multitude of mates makes a man a god in eternity. The same behavior would make a woman a slut, worthy of destruction. And that is the terrifying, dual standard, unjust, lack of equality God that we were all taught to believe in. No just God does that. Polygamy is a product of greed, not God. I seriously doubt that any healthy woman would choose to share her husband. I think it's as uncommon as a healthy man would choose to share the one and the only wife he would ever have. And if these men had the shoe on the other foot, they would know that polygamy is abuse. Do your research. There are plenty of places you can do your research. Do your research on the cause and effect of polygamy around the world. Wherever polygamy goes, poverty follows. Emotional, psychological, educational, and financial poverty. These are facts. Look them up.